Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ellie and today's video is going to be the end of year book tag. I apologise for how I look. I did want to dress up all nice, but it is freezing, so I have a nice comfy Max and Hall hoodie on. I've also been to work today, so yeah, looking a bit of a mess, but that doesn't matter because we're here to talk about books. So this tag is all about the best and the worst books that I read over the course of 2025. The questions will all be down below, so if you are seeing this, consider yourself tagged and let me know if you do post because I would love to hear your answers to this. So let's get on because there are quite a few questions here. Okay, number one is, what was the most disappointing book of the year? And for me that would probably have to be Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I did end up DNFing it at 80%. And I was just disappointed because I was expecting to really love it. I read the first two books in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I haven't yet read the third and finished it, but the two that I did read I absolutely loved, and after I'd started them I realised you were technically supposed to read Caraval first, but I thought I would go back. It was a buddy read with my best friend. She actually really enjoyed it, but I don't know, the female main character just, is it Scarlett her name? She just annoyed me and I just couldn't get into it. And yeah, I was 80% in, which is really far for me to DNF a book. I just didn't really care too much about what happened next in the story. And I know this is a really popular book and so many people love it, so please don't be offended if you love any of the books that I mentioned in here when I say that I didn't like them. Reading is subjective and, you know, everyone is allowed their own opinion, and I'm of course not slating on any of the authors. These books just weren't to my personal taste if I say that I didn't enjoy them. But yeah, it was just a book that I really expected to love. I thought it was going to be a 5-star and a new favourite, so I was a bit disappointed when it didn't turn out that way. Question number two is, what is an underdog book of the year? So for that I've chosen The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This isn't a book that I ever really thought that I would pick up, but I found it in a charity shop for £1 when I was on holiday at the start of the year, and I decided to read it this summer and I loved it. It was one of my favourite books of the year, and I don't know, I just didn't think this was going to be a book for me, and I just loved it so much. This is a really cozy, low stakes fantasy. We have a mermaid character, I believe his name was Linus, and he is kind of an inspector and he gets sent to this children's home that's basically in the middle of nowhere on this island, and he has to write a report and do an investigation on this children's home that's full of all of these dangerous children who are all magical fantasy beings, and it's full of found family. It was just so sweet. Like, as you can see, I have tabbed it. I do want to reread this and I do need to read the next book in the series. I just was not expecting to love this one as much as I did. So number three is a book that was overhyped, and I was going back through my Goodreads and I couldn't really find any that I thought were really that overhyped, so I switched over to my story graph and looked through all of the books that I had DNF'd this year, and a really popular one that just wasn't for me was The Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole. This was a pick for my local book club and my best friend and I both had the same thoughts. I think a lot of people there did really love it. I think I DNF'd it about 30%. I just couldn't get into it, so that's why I'm saying it's overhyped. It might be really good. If I had pushed on, I may have ended up really loving it, but to me it was just hard to get into. I didn't really connect or care for the characters, so that's why I'm saying it's overhyped. Number four is your favourite book couple. The first couple that come to mind for this one are Sabrina and Tucker from The Girl by Elle Kennedy. This is another book that really surprised me this year. I've really enjoyed all of the books that I've read by Elle Kennedy, but this one I had been putting off because it is accidental pregnancy, which is a trope that I do tend to avoid, but I didn't want to leave out a book in the series, so I picked it up and I just ended up loving it. I love Sabrina and Tucker. They obviously weren't expecting to find themselves in the situation that they were, but you just truly felt how much they cared for each other. I loved how much Tucker supported Sabrina throughout the entire thing, and yeah, I loved them so much. And you know, there are other couples that I did enjoy throughout the books, but these two are definitely a standout. Number 5 is your favourite main character, and this was really hard, but I think I'm going to go with Kingfisher from Quicksilver by Callie Hart, because I read this back in January and I have not stopped thinking about him for the entire year. I was hoping to have done a reread by now because I haven't yet read Brimstone, but I'm going to do that in 2026, so really looking forward to that. But yeah, I just haven't been able to stop thinking about him since I finished this book. Then we have a book that surprised you, and for that, the first one that came to mind is First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. This surprised me because I have read 2, maybe 3 other books by this author and I did not like any of them. So I'd kind of decided that I wasn't going to pick anything else up by this author. But then this one was released and they had this pretty edition in the works and I bought it. And at the time I was thinking I should not be buying this just based off the cover. Like, I needed to be stronger, like, and not just buy books because they're pretty. Like, I tried this author several times, I hadn't liked them, but then I loved it. And I don't know what it was about this one, but yeah, I was honestly just taken aback by how much I did love this book. I don't think I'm going to revisit any of the other books that I previously tried by this author, but I will continue this series. Then we have a new favourite author that you discovered in 2025. So again, I was going through my Goodreads and there weren't that many new authors that I read this year that stood out to me. And then I remembered Hannah Bonham Young. So this author has, I don't know when her first book came out, but her books were ones that never really kind of intrigued me, but I picked this one up in February and I devoured it. The female main character in this one, or was it the male main character? One of them had anxiety, and as someone who also has anxiety, I really felt seen by the representation in this. And this year I've now read 3 books by this author and I think all of them have been 5 stars. One of them might have been a 4, but definitely 2 of them were 5, and I will now be picking up anything that Hannah Bonham Young writes because I just love the characters, I love the connection, I loved the emotion. Like, I'm not normally one for emotional stories and heavy topics. I want a book that I can escape to, and the books that I've read so far have had quite heavy topics in them, but they've just been done so well. And yeah, she is a new auto by author for me. The next one is the Happiest read that you had this year, and I'm going to go a little bit off and I'm going to talk about some mangas that I read. So these are Meteor Prince Volume 1 and Volume 2. It is a manga duology. I did not read as much manga as I had hoped to in 2025, so that is definitely something that I want to push for 2026 because I have a whole manga shelf and I've read maybe 3 or 4 of it, so I definitely need to get back to them. But this was just a really cute duology and it was just a fun time. It had me smiling. We have our 2 characters. So the guy basically lives on another planet and he comes down to Earth and he lands in front of our female main character and he thinks that they are mates, and she is kind of thrown off. This guy literally falls from space and mates aren't a thing in this world, and he basically wants to convince her that they are mates, so he enlists the help of her friends to convince her that they are mates, to help her fall in love with him, because she says, I will not just accept that I'm your mate, I need to fall for you. So he basically spends 2 books trying to get her to fall in love with him. They're just so sweet, so cute, and they just made me really happy. The next one is the most frustrating book that you read of the year, and for that I'm going to go for one that I am still currently reading, but I have very strong opinions about it, and that is Heart for Christmas by Sophie Germain. This is an advent calendar story, which is why I bought it. So you open up a chapter every day throughout December, and the only reason that I'm still reading this is because I'm really enjoying just opening a chapter a day, but I am really not liking this story. It makes me so angry. The female main character is just infuriating, and she's 18 but she acts about 13, and I could go on. I really don't want to slate on this book or this author, and if you are also reading this December and you're enjoying it, I'm happy for you. It's just really not for me, and I'm just so angry because I was really hoping that I was gonna love this book. I mean, it's obviously good enough for me to continue, but it's probably going to be my worst book of the year. Then we have what is the longest book that you have read this year. So looking through Goodreads, apparently that is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. So this has 609 pages. And the next question is, what is the shortest book you've read this year? And for me, that is Triple Tidings by Cleo White. I read it last week before. It is a Christmas why choose novella, and I believe it had 114 pages. The next one is, what are your favourite book covers of the year? And this is super hard, so I've gone with one regular edition and one special edition out of what I have read, because this is just such a hard one to answer. But my favourite cover for like a regular edition book has to be Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. I just love the gold foiling, the roses, the cut, like it is just so gorgeous. And then my favourite special edition of the year that I have read has to be Metal Slinger. This is the Fairy Loot edition, and it's just the hardcover. Like, it is absolutely stunning, and I can't get over how beautiful it is. And both of these were 5-star favourites, which makes it even better. The next question is a book you haven't stopped thinking about, and I feel like there's no guesses at what this one is because I've mentioned it like twice already, but Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I just loved Kingfisher so much. Like I said at the start, he is like my favourite character of the year. That I can't stop thinking about it. I loved it so much, and I'm definitely rereading it at the start of 2026. Next question is the cringiest book you've read this year, and I'm going to answer again with Heart of Christmas, but I don't want to hate on this too much. I really don't, because I feel awful, but I can't. Then we have an unpopular book that you loved. So this book was another pick for my local book club, and I think I was probably the only person there that liked this. I've seen lots of reviews on it. It's on lots of people's worst books of the year list, but I loved it and gave it 5 stars, and that was Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen. I picked this up because honestly I loved the Under the Dust Jacket and the Sprayed Edge, and it was kind of said that it was like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is my all-time favourite book. So I knew that I would like this, and I did. We have our 2 characters who basically are destined to be together, and this is their story over hundreds, if not thousands of years, and every chapter kind of goes back to a different life that they have had together, but they both die when they turn 18, and then they're kind of like reincarnated. So we just see them going through all of these different lives and falling in love with each other again and again and again, and I just loved it so much. I think people's main issue with this is the ending, and I can understand why, but I really liked it. Okay, so I'm gonna have to be looking at my laptop for this one, but what are your lowest and highest rated books on Goodreads that you read this year? So my highest rated book had a 4.51, which is insanely good out of 5, and that was Bash by Casey Mills. So this was a motorcycle club romance, and I think I gave it 4 stars. I did like it, but I didn't necessarily love it. So I don't know whether I agree with that. Like, it's definitely not my best book that I read of the year, and it's definitely not within my top favourites, but I liked it enough that I would want to continue reading more books by this author. So I don't know whether I would necessarily agree or not though, because it wasn't bad. But then my lowest rated book has 2.91, which, if you can guess, is A Heart for Christmas. And yes, I unfortunately do agree with that rating. Again, still looking at my laptop because I have the notes here, but the next one is your favourite quotes of the year. And honestly, for this I just went back through my Instagram reviews and looked at some of the quotes that I had put down that I'd liked from books. So 2 that stood out for me are one from Hexed by Emily McIntyre, and that quote is, "Want me to burn this kingdom to the ground? No, I want to burn him to the ground and take the kingdom for myself." And then another quote I really liked was from The Dagger and the Flame by Catherine Doyle, and that was, "When the world is at its darkest, we must reach bravely through the shadows to find where light blooms." Question 19 is a book you read with the most unique concept, and this was quite hard, but I think one that was a little bit different to what I would typically read. I don't know if this is necessarily a different concept, but like I say, it's just different for what I typically read. But that is What You Are Looking For is in the library. So this is a collection of kind of short stories that all merge into one, where we have this library and people go to the library and they'll be looking for a book on something specific, or they'll be looking for a course to do, and they will meet the librarian and she will hand them something that they're not expecting, and it will basically spark something inside them to get them on a new path, so they find where they actually need to be, they find a new passion, a new spark. And I just really liked it, and I really loved the idea of the library being this central thing that helped people find what they really needed and what they desired, and it was just such a sweet story. The next question is a book that you would reread, and I think I could probably say pretty much all of the books that I have mentioned so far, but I'm gonna go with Heavenly Bodies. As you can see, I am currently reading this, and I'm saying that this is a book that I want to reread before I've even finished it. I'm loving this. It's gonna be a 5 stars, but I'm very confused and I don't know if I missed a bit when I was listening to some audio, but I want to continue the series, but there are bits as I'm reading this that I'm very confused by. So I want to reread this. Like, honestly, if I didn't have a ton of other books on my TBR, as soon as I finish this, I would just go back to the start and read it again because I'm loving it that much. But I want to reread this to take in the story fully. But I also want to buy myself a different copy because this is a Fairy Loot edition, so I want to keep it nice and pristine. But I want to get another copy of this so that I can write in it and highlight all my favourite quotes and kind of make notes to keep me following the story so that I don't get lost in it like I have at the minute. But like I've already said, I want to reread Quicksilver. Definitely. 21 is your reading goal reflection and your 2026 reading goal. So initially I set a reading goal of 100 books. I think last year I just reached 150, and this year I decided that I wasn't going to read any books that were under 200 pages until like now. I think in December I may have read 2 novellas. Of course, my shortest book read was like 114, but up until December I did not read a book that was under 200 pages, and I also did not count any mangas towards my reading goal. I wanted to be reading kind of just full books, like long books over 200 pages, and because of that I am not going to hit my reading goal. I'm currently at 112 books, I believe, so I'm quite a way off. It's not going to happen. What did I say that? No, I initially said it 100, and then basically I was going really well, so I upped it to 150. So now I'm not going to hit it, and I was thinking a month or so ago of taking it back down to 100, but I thought no, like leave it. It's okay if I don't hit my goal this year. And you know, reading is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be a challenge, and I don't just want to sit here now and read a ton of novellas so that I can suddenly hit my goal. Like, it's just going to be okay not to hit it. So going into my 2026 reading goal, I'm not too sure whether I'm yet going to set it back to 100 and leave it at 100, even if I do manage to hit it quite early in the year, or whether I'm going to leave it at 150 and see if I can beat it after not getting there this year. So I'm not sure. We'll have to see on January 1st where I end up choosing to go with that. And the final question is, what are you prioritizing in 2026 with your reading? So like I already said, I really want to prioritize my manga. I have the whole shelf that I need to get through, but I feel that I say the same things every year, that I want to read more diverse, I want to read more different genres, and I think I set a goal at the start of the year that I wanted to read 1 non-fiction a month, 1 thriller a month, that I wanted to do all of this stuff, and at the end of the year here I am still reading romance and fantasy. So I don't want to be as hard on myself, but I definitely do still want to try and read more diversely. I have thought of maybe trying some challenges just for myself that I'm not necessarily going to be sticking to, but I'm going to be logging myself in maybe a reading journal to maybe try and read a book from every country around the world. That always sounds really interesting to me. And maybe instead of setting the goal to read 1 non-fiction, 1 non-thriller, maybe just reading one book that's not fantasy and not romance every month, just to make it a little easier. I do also really want to go to my local library more so that I stop buying books. I've definitely done a lot better towards the end of the year with that, as I've just found that I've got drawn in a lot to just buy books that look pretty and then I end up not liking them. So unless it's an author that I really do love, I want to start using the library more to make sure that I do love a book before I purchase it. I also really want to read more on my Kindle this year. It's definitely been a very physical book heavy year. I still have over 900 books on my Kindle, which is just, no one needs that. So I definitely need to focus on reading more on my Kindle over my physical books, and I want to reread a lot more because I have a lot of books that I've been really wanting to reread, but I feel guilty rereading when I have a TBR that's so long of books that I haven't yet read. And I think I just need to start feeling so much guilt around my TBR and to just read what I enjoy, read what I'm in the mood for, take away the competition of trying to read a load of books, and just really seek out finding more indie authors, finding books from different countries, and really just try and diversify, but also make sure that I'm still having fun and I'm not just reading for the sake of it. Okay, that took way longer than I thought it was going to, so we are gonna end that here. So thank you so much for watching. As I've said at the start, if you have watched it to the end, you know, consider yourself tagged, and I would love to see your version of this. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you tomorrow for the next day of Vlogmas.